good words over you. That God has said about everyone in this room, you're the head, not the tail. You're healed. You're rich. You're fruitful. You're a father of nations. You're a great nation. You're above and not beneath. You're blessed going out. You're blessed coming in. Your storehouse is blessed. And you all believed it last week, and you all shouted amen, and we had a great sermon. Then you had to go back to surviving, didn't you? And you had to go back to the pain of life and that difficult spouse, that awkward co-worker. And in the middle of the week, at some point, some of you said something like, I wish my mind could be welded to what I heard on Sunday. I wish I wasn't wavering to and fro all the time. I know I'm blessed, I know I'm blessed, I know I'm blessed, and I go out there, oh man, this is not good. I don't know how I'm going to cope with this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Jesus, if you'd been there, it wouldn't have gone wrong. You know, all that kind of stuff. How can I get my mind welded to the truth that I'm blessed? And so today, I've got my welding torch with me, church. And we're going to weld your mind to these truths. We're talking about the blessing of Abraham. Galatians 3:14 says the blessing of Abraham is yours. So we need to look at how God persuaded Abraham to find out how we can be persuaded and how we can be welded. So Genesis 15, sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abraham in a vision. So Abraham's just, I don't know what he was doing, minding his own business, having a sandwich, whatever he was doing. And there's the Lord standing right where he can see God. And God says, do not be afraid, Abraham. I think I'd be pretty afraid when I was sitting there eating my dinner and suddenly I see an open vision of God. Oh, don't be afraid. Okay, good start. I will protect you. Your reward will be great. Or some translations, which I think better reflects the Hebrew, I will be your great reward. So Abraham, imagine this open vision of God. God says, your reward is going to be awesome. I'm going to protect you and look after you. And Abraham goes, oh, sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Have you ever had one thing that just seems to eclipse everything else? You think, what good is my life if I just can't get that job? Or I can't get that place at university? Or I can't get with that girl or that guy? Or I can't have a child? Or I can't get out of this problem? Or this child of mine won't come right and live for you? And then this one problem just obscures every other problem. Now listen to this. Since you've given me no children, you're your fault, God. If you'd been here, my brother would have been okay. Since you haven't sorted this, since you haven't healed me, since you haven't got me out of debt, since you haven't sorted their dumb life out for me, what am I going to do? No, I know no one else has ever prayed like that in their life. Since you've given no children, Elijah of Damascus, a servant in my household, is going to inherit all my wealth. See what Abraham's imagination was? He's dreaming of this guy. You can imagine the servant. He's been serving Abraham faithfully for years. And Abraham's starting to get annoyed at him. None of this. He's doing a great job. He doesn't understand why he's coming into work and the boss is just angry with him. Because he doesn't know what's going on in the boss's imagination. He's going to get on my stuff. Where's my child? You promised. And the Lord said to him, your servant will not be your heir. You will have a son of your own who will be your heir. Then the Lord took Abraham outside. So he was in a tent. God said, right, come on, that's outside. It was nighttime, obviously. And he said, look up into the sky and count the stars. That's how I worked out it was nighttime. See? And so he counted all, he starts counting the stars. They reckon you can see about 4,000 stars without a telescope in the sky. And the thing is this, they all look the same. I reckon it's pretty difficult to count them, because I reckon if you get about 100 in, you go, did I count that one? I'm going to go back and start again, right? 1, 2. So he's counting the stars. Now here's the amazing thing. We learned last week that Abraham worshipped the moon. If you worship the moon, how often do you think you'd be up at night looking in the sky? But you don't even notice all the stars. Too busy looking at the rock up there. God says, don't change your focus. Come out here at night time. Because every time you see a star, come out. See, right, every star's a chart. There's wee Freddie there. And there's wee Jimmy. Oh, well, fantastic. There's little Julie there. And you start counting the stars. And you start changing your imagination. Stop dreaming of Eliezer becoming your heir. And start dreaming of all the children I'm going to give you. Change what's in here. That's the first step to walking in victory over your circumstances. Change what you're thinking. Start to dream a new dream. And Abraham believed the Lord. Man, that was easy, wasn't it? You're going to have more descendants, more children than the stars. Okay, I believe you. And the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Now, it'd be nice if the story could end there. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? God just said you can have children. Oh, fine. Praise God, I believe it. And all of us have had days like that. God's just given you a scripture. I believe it. I receive it. And that's it. You're righteous. It's done. It's a done deal. But then God gives Abraham a second promise. His first promise, loads and loads of children. Oh, yeah, I can believe that. No problem. Second promise, look at this. I'm the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession. I'm going to give you this whole country, Abraham. Man, that's a wonderful present, isn't it? A whole nation. You know, I love my kids, and I've given them some great Christmas presents in their time. Now, remember that year we got the Nintendo Wii? You didn't think you were going to get it? You know, oh, it's just great fun. I've never given any of my children a whole nation as a present. Man, that must have been a great day. And you see, at this point, this is where Abraham chokes. He's okay, I believe I can have the children. Okay, I've got that. I'm going to get a nation to live in. Oh, sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I'm going to have that? The God of the universe is sitting right in front of you in an open vision going, this is going to be yours. How can I be sure? How do I know that's really true? Because I know, and you just play every game without you, God. I don't think you can give me that country. I don't think you can do that. And before we laugh too much at Abraham, how many of you have got a Bible verse that says, my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory? And it's just in there in black and white, and you go, how can I be sure? God says, by his stripes you are healed. You go, how can I know? So, God at this point is really gracious. Because I think at that point I'd have gone, population of the earth by Abraham's time was probably just over 2 million people on the whole planet, maybe 3-4 million. I'd have gone, I'll find someone else, don't worry, mate. Open vision's not helping. Don't worry, mate, I'll go and find someone else. Don't you worry, it'll be fine. But we'll do it later. I'd have been tempted to go, what is wrong with you, man? How can I know? God's there, right there. You know, and so if you're here today, and you're struggling to believe God's the healer, God's the provider, God's going to make what is broken in your life fix. You're struggling to believe. Understand this. God isn't out to get you. You know, I mean, like Mary and Martha, we've already had it. You know, it's not, God didn't go to Mary. If you'd been here, well, my brother would have been fine. Well, if you're going to talk to me like that, there's other places I could go. I've got loads of preaching advice lined up. I don't have to come back to Bethany again. I'll just go there. No. He cares about you, and he wants you to be persuaded. That's why you're here today. And that's why God has led me to preach this message today, so that you will be persuaded. So what does the Lord tell him? Go bring me a 3-year-old heifer. A cow. Go get me a cow, Abraham. A cow. Yeah. A young female goat. Okay. A 3-year-old ram. Okay. A turtle dove. And a young pigeon. Would you like a partridge and a pear tree while you're at it, God? That's a strange list, isn't it? That's a strange list. But you see, isn't it interesting that Abraham believed the children thing, but struggled to believe the nation? I always find it amazing when Christians believe in healing, but struggle to believe for prosperity. Or believe in, the hardest one is people to believe that God just loves them. They don't believe in healing, get healed, they see the sick healed, but they still struggle to believe God actually cares about them. I've seen more pastors than I can imagine struggling with God actually loving them. It's amazing. I was once in one sermon, and I was at a conference speaking with 3 other pastors, and the guy, he preached one of the best sermons on Do Not Worry I've ever heard. And And it was all ruined, because at the end of the sermon, he sat there next to me and goes, do you think they liked it? Do you think it was okay? Do you think it went well? How do I respond to that? Do not worry. You know? But, people can be insecure about one thing, believe one promise, and struggle with another. Now, there is a difference between these problems. Have loads of children, that's fine. All you've got to do is consider not your own body. But God gave him a nation. He doesn't give him any nation. He gave him the nation of Canaan. Now, already people living there. See, you imagine if I said, right, here's your Christmas present, son. It's Sean's house. Enjoy. You go, hold on a minute, Dad. There's a problem with this present. But God said to Abraham, here, have Canaan. And then Abraham's going, hold on a minute, God. There's a problem with this present called the Canaanites. When God told me to move to Dagenham and start a church, I didn't realize how many churches were in Dagenham. I didn't know the local high school around the corner has got like 8 churches on a Sunday. The place where we started to meet now has 5 churches every weekend. How many churches are there in Dagenham? I was like, God, just send me to Abu Dhabi. Send me somewhere there's no churches. I don't want to be here where there's churches everywhere. I don't want to plant where there's so many churches. I honestly believe you took my house and drew a 10-mile circle around that house, my house. You'd have more churches in that circle than any circle the same size anywhere in England. I mean, there's churches everywhere. And so I was like, Lord, why have you sent me here? And it took God a while to show me, it's none of your business. None of those churches are any of your business. I'm talking to you about you. Do what I've called you to do. And when God says to Abraham, this is your nation, but what about, that's none of your business, Abraham. I'll deal with them. You deal with what I called you to do. So when God says, I'm going to promote you at work, and well, what about the people? Just don't worry about that. God will deal with them. You have to believe what he shows you. And so don't let other things, I've got a 4-page letter from a man. If I said his name, half of you in this room would know him. And it says, do not plant in Guildford. Guildford has enough churches. And he told me explicitly, do not plant in Guildford. If I plant in Guildford, I'm against God's will, I'm breaking God's will. I wrote him a letter back. It was just half a page. I said, if in 5 years' time, nobody's come to the church, I will concede that you're right and I've missed God. If, however, there's 100 people in the church in 5 years' time, I will tell you there's 100 people who need to are not being met by the existing churches already there. Amen. I'm not trying to steal people from the churches already there. I'm trying to add to what's already there. And so that was my reply, and I never got a reply back, praise God. But really, it's none of my business if someone decides to plant a church across the road from me. I don't do what God's called me to do. God might tell you to start a business. God might tell you, you might walk past someone's house and God go, that's your house. Now don't start claiming it and don't start rebuking them and doing all that kind of stuff. Don't open your big mouth and start winding people up. You imagine if Abraham had gone walking into Canaan, hey guys, this is my nation now. He would have been dead. Now keep your mouth shut, but believe God. And trust God. And trust God to do what he's called you to do. But I don't know if that's the reason why he choked, but for whatever reason, Abraham choked at the nation gift. Didn't choke at the child gift. Maybe it's just too big. I need to give me a nation. I don't deserve a nation. So God had a choice. So I kick this loser to the curb. He's had enough chances. God could have said, I just said it. I don't need to waste my time trying to persuade you I'm kind. And I'll keep my word. I've said it. That's it. Believe it or don't. I'm looking for someone who's tough enough to make it happen. You can just get, he can do something to help Abraham believe. And what he does, he says, go and get me a pigeon and a sheep and a goat and a cow. Now, to our mindset, that sounds weird. But to somebody from Abraham's day, it sounds normal. Now, I'll explain why. Keep your finger in Genesis 15 and turn me to Hebrews chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6. Verse 13. For example, there was God's promise to Abraham. Since there was no one greater to swear by, you notice people like to swear by things, don't they? I'll tell you, I swear by my mum's life. There's no one, who can God swear by? He can swear by his mum's life, he doesn't have a mum. So God swears by himself. I swear by me. I will certainly bless you, and I will multiply your descendants beyond number. And Abraham waited patiently and received what God had promised. Now, when people take an oath, they call on someone greater than themselves to hold them to it. And without any question, the oath is binding. So by oath here, we're talking about a promise. We're talking about a serious and solemn promise. And God has given his promise and his oath. God bound himself with an oath so that those who received the promise could be sure he'd never change his mind. So God has given both his promise and his oath. These two things are unchangeable because it's impossible for God to lie. So God didn't just say, right, I promise, but he said, I'm giving you an oath. Now that word oath means a covenant. It means to swear by blood. And we're going to unpack that today. And as it fully persuaded Abraham, it's going to fully persuade you. These two things are unchangeable. It's impossible for God to lie. Therefore, those who have fled to him for refuge can have great confidence as we hold to the hope that lies before us. We can always trust in God. This hope that God has sworn an oath, that God has entered into covenant with us, is a strong and trustworthy, look at this, verse 19, a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. And that's what you need. You need an anchor in your soul so that your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings are stayed on God's promises and God's word, and you're not wavering back to and forth. So if God's word says that the covenant, the oath, is an anchor to your soul, to anchor your thoughts and feelings into the things of God, you need to find out more about covenant oaths. And so when God said to Abraham, go and get me the cow, the goat, the chicken, the pigeon, the alligator, whatever he told him, this oath will anchor your soul. So you need to pay attention to what I'm about to say today, because all the grasping in the world is going to stop. And you're going to be anchored in the love of God and understand his love. And the things you've been believing for years are going to manifest because you're now anchored. Some people treat God's love like a daisy. If you notice that, he loves me not, he loves me, he loves me not. And God loves you, that's the truth. And so how do I ground myself and anchor myself on his love? There's only one Bible way to ground yourself on his love, and that's the oath, that's the covenant that he swore. So let's go back to Abraham and let's look at this. Genesis 15. I told you to keep your finger there. I meant it. Bring me a cow and a goat and a ram and a turtle dove and a young pigeon. This is God's answer to the question, how can I know you're going to do what you've promised? And if you've ever asked that question, this is God's answer. Bring me a cow, bring me a goat. And to our mindset, that sounds like lunacy, doesn't it? That's because we live in a culture that by and large does not understand blood oaths, does not understand blood covenant. In fact, we live in a society in the West where we don't even understand promises anymore. If you want to enter into a deal with someone, you've got to have 15 lawyers on each side because we don't trust people. Henry Ford invented the first car and didn't have a set of keys to open the door and get the engine going. Because he couldn't conceive that somebody would actually take it from you just because they could. And really, that sort of Victorian age, that was the last time we lived in a generation in the West where someone's word meant something. But in Abraham's day, your word meant everything. The power of promise was understood by everyone, and the most powerful promise you could swear was the blood promise, the covenant promise. The Hebrew word for covenant is berit. It means to cut until there's blood flowing. So whenever you hear the word covenant, you need to hear a promise sworn in blood. So when Abraham said, how am I going to know? God said, bring me something that's got some blood. I want a cow because a cow's full of blood. And I want a goat because I know goats have got blood inside them. And I want a ram and a pigeon and I want a dove because I know if you cut them there's going to be some blood. And what I have to say to you, Abraham, is so serious. And what I want to get through to your brain, I'm promising this with such a solemnness, this is going to have to be a blood deal. And you have to grasp it, and you have to get yourself anchored. And so a covenant, a blood deal, was something Abraham was familiar with, very familiar with. And what a covenant was a blood promise to the death to help another person. And so, if you had a situation in the Middle East, the ancient Middle East, let's say there was a family of farmers, Mr. and Mrs. Farmer, and all of the farmer children. They were the best farmers in the whole land. Man, they could take the most scraggy bit of horrible land and they could get a harvest of food. Man, these guys they just knew what they were doing when it comes to farmers. And every year they get beat up by the bandits and take all their food. How many of you know the last thing you need right now in that situation is another farmer? See, so many Christians are lost because they're still looking for someone just like them to help them. If you're just like someone, you don't need a blood covenant. So there's another family on the other side of the mountain, Mr. and Mrs. Fighter. And they're tough, man. Bandits never attack Mr. and Mrs. Fighter because they will lose. And all the fighter children and all the fighter cousins and uncles and aunts and whatever else, you don't mess with that family. But they're starving hungry because they got the most beautiful, luscious land in the whole country, and they'd mess it up. They don't know a thing about seed time and harvest. They know nothing. So they're hungry. And the other side of the mountain, Mr. and Mrs. Farmer are hungry. Time for a deal. And so they decide we're going to make the most solemn kind of deal we can. We're going to form a blood covenant, a blood oath. So the first thing you would do to form a blood oath was to create a field of blood. Where are we going to get enough blood for a field? Give me a cow, a ram, a goat, a pigeon. And what they'll do is they'll cut the animals open down the spine. Animals, so there's blood. You cut a cow open down the spine, you're now in a field of blood. And then you do the goat and the sheep and the pigeon and the dove. You're now in the middle of a field of blood. There's blood everywhere. You'd not only be barefoot at this stage, at the very most you'd be wearing leather sandals. And you're now standing in blood that's possibly ankle deep or more. And then you can smell blood, can't you? So all you can smell is the blood. And so Mr. Farmer, as the head of the farmer family, walks into the middle of the blood. And Mr. Fighter, as the head of the fighter family, walks into the middle of the blood. There's blood everywhere. You know, that smell of blood mixed with the smell of the grass. You're not going to forget today, hopefully. That's the point. That's the whole point of it. And so there they are, standing in the blood. Number one, you create a field of blood. Number two, the heads of the families come and stand in the field of blood. Then they read out the deal they've made. And they say, this is our deal in the blood. And this will be our blood if we don't keep the deal. But the deal is we'll look after one another. We will care for one another. We'll provide for one another. We'll fight for one another. We are now friends. We're now one family. And that I'll fight for you. And that I'll look after you. And that I'll provide for you. They were called the blessings of the covenant. And then the other side went, and if you don't look after us, it's going to be your blood. And that was called the curse of the covenant. And so they would read out, so all the families would know, this is a solemn deal. And you're there as a junior, your daddy's standing there, his ankle's up to the blood, all you can smell is blood, all you want to do is vomit. Little Susie's already vomited. You're going to stand and go, this is the most serious day of my life. You'll be 5 years old, but you wouldn't forget that when you're 95. How can I know? This is how you know. And so, the fourth thing that would happen is they'd swap their clothes. In the middle of that field of blood, they'd take their robes off and swap them one with another. Just turn me to 1 Samuel 18 for a second. 1 Samuel 18, verse 1. 1 Samuel 18, just before 2 Samuel. Verse 1. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. And this is where immature people who don't understand culture, don't understand, oh, Jonathan and David were gay. No, they weren't. They were covenant brothers. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact, a blood oath, with David, because he loved him as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. That wasn't, oh, look at me, David, I'm just going to strip off in front of you here. This was part of a covenant ceremony. You take your robe off and give it to them, and they take. Why would that matter? Why would that mean? Because your robe is what symbolized you were in charge of the family. So what you're now saying is that Mr. Farmer is now the head, not just of the farmer family, but of the fighter family. And Mr. Fighter is now the head and has authority over the farmer family as well as his own family. What I'm in charge of, you're in charge of. We still use coats today in the military to symbolize authority. You know, the private gets the colonel's coat and he walks out into the mess. Nobody's going to take the chance that he's still a private. They're going to stand up and so they're going to respect the coat. What you see, when the prodigal son came home, the father said, go and get the most expensive coat, the best coat. Now, if you're the patriarch of the family, I'll tell you where the best coat is going to be. It's going to be in your wardrobe. He was telling the prodigal son, he was saying to the servants, go and give him my coat. Whatever I'm in charge of, he's in charge of. And in this blood covenant, these two men, Mr. Farmer and Mr. Fife, would exchange coats, saying, we're now in charge of the same things. We're now one. The next thing that would happen would then swap their weapons. And we see that with David and Jonathan. You see, David couldn't help but be the next king of Israel because he was now the son of the king as much as Jonathan was. Because he now wore the coat of a prince. He now had the weapons of a prince. When you swapped weapons, what you were saying was this: if someone messes with you, they're messing with me. And I'll fight to the death against anybody who touches you because we're now family. You can imagine the farmers would be quite happy at this stage. You can imagine they'd be quite pleased about this. Bandits, come on at me. Come on. Because I've got the whole fighter family now. In my family. And then they'd exchange blood. Standing there in the field of blood, they would both take a sharp knife. They'd start about there. They'd slice down to there. Leaving a scar that would never fade. Sometimes they took dirt and mud and rubbed it into the wound to make sure it wouldn't heal properly, so you could never forget the scar. And then they would take their two scars where the blood was flowing, their weak to cut till the blood is flowing, and they'd put their two arms together. Sometimes they'd tie them together. So now Mr. Farmer's blood is inside Mr. Fighter. And Mr. Fighter's blood is inside Mr. Farmer. And they would say, anything you need, even my own blood, I will give it to you. If I don't have it, I'll go and make it, just to make sure you have it. I will meet all your needs according to my riches. You can imagine at this stage, the Fighter family are now quite happy. Hey, we're going to have some good food tonight, man. Then, you see, marriage used to be that. 1,000 years ago, that's why people got married. That's why people were wedding. They'd cut here where the thumb is, right where the thumb. And they'd put their thumbs together. I'll tell you what, guys, try and take that off and try and play around. Did I say that out loud? Marriage is a covenant. It is a lifelong commitment. I'll provide for you, for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse. And you might, oh, I've messed up. That's okay, but let's not mess up again. And so, the final thing that would happen, the seventh step, they would then exchange names. So Mr. Farmer was now Mr. Farmer Fighter. He'd gone to class as well. But there, I'm Mr. Farmer Fighter. How do you do? And Mr. Fighter became Mr. Fighter Farmer. Two families were one. And then to celebrate the covenant, to celebrate this deal, the most important servant from each side would get to join them in the blood. That'd be the dad, like, no, I'm the second most important servant today. You're the most important. Go on, off you go. And they would take a glass of wine with them, and they would drip their blood into the wine, and they would share the wine to celebrate their one blood. One
Some
family.
form of libation.
That is covenant. Now that makes sense to our brains, doesn't it? You can see why Mr. Farmer would want to do that deal. And you can see why Mr. Fighter would want to do that deal. And really, if you understand anything about the Bible, you understand it's a covenant book. It's a book about blood flowing to bring unity. And you see our Western society's forgotten. So we make so much rubbish of everything because we don't understand covenant. Anyone ever said blood's thicker than water? Blood's thicker than water. That means you've got to look after your family. Oh, well, what's the water then? Well, it's because we drink at the same water cooler at work. The original phrase is Persian from covenant people. It says this: blood is thicker than water. Meaning when you step into that field of blood with someone, and you share blood with someone, that person is your blood brother. You treat them better than the brother you share the water of the womb and the milk of the breast with. Because blood is thicker than water. Oh, that makes sense now. Covenant, we need to rediscover and understand covenant. You see, covenant makes sense in the Bible. The Bible's a covenant book. But we read it with a Western mindset, and our mindset's legal. That's why we so easily become legalistic. What do? We need help. We call a lawyer. People in the Middle East, in the ancient Middle East, when they needed help, they formed a covenant. We try to find the words to try and get out of it. And that's our society. Well, I didn't really say this, I didn't mean this. That's our whole society. I did not have sexual relationships with that woman. That's Bill Clinton just reflecting the whole Western nation. It depends what the word sex means, it depends what the word is means, it depends what relations means. He's a lawyer. He's not a covenant person. But we read the Bible through a lawyer mindset rather than a covenant mindset. We read the Bible says, do not steal. That's what the Bible says, isn't it? Do not steal. And in that law mindset, we have to, or you'll be in trouble. Or I'll get you. Or I'll sort you out if you steal. And that's the picture of God we have. As the judge. But covenant language says, do not steal. Because if you need anything at all, I'll get it for you. That's a better mindset to read the Bible. How can I know? This is how you know. And so I can understand why the fighters would enter into that covenant. I can understand why the farmers would enter into that covenant. What I struggle with is why would God, Almighty God, enter into a covenant with Abraham? But look at verse 10 of Genesis 15. So Abraham presented all these to him and killed them. Abraham didn't have to be told to kill them. He knew where we were going. We're going to build a field of blood. He did not cut the birds. He cut them in two and laid them half opposite each other. Abraham built a field of blood. And the birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abraham drove them away. When you start to realize how much God loves you, when you start to get this revelation of covenant and the blood that I'm telling you about today, don't let anything try and take it from you. Drive it away. Anything that tries to take this revelation from you, drive it away. Now the sun was going down. Let's just build a timeline here, because when God took Abraham out of the tent in the first place, it was night. And Abraham probably spent the whole night trying to count the stars. And then he believed God and counted his righteousness. And then God said, I'm now going to give you this nation. How can I know? Abraham has spent the entire day building this field of blood. And the entire night counting stars. He's tired. He's now standing in this field of blood going, I know what God's going to do here. This is going to be amazing. And so the head of Abraham's family, Abraham, stands in the field of blood, verse 12. Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham. It wasn't coming with him, it fell on him. God knocked him out. In the middle of the field of blood, God. That's the one place I would not want to have a night's sleep. But Abraham had to know this isn't a deal between two equal families. This is me showing you what to do. It doesn't depend on your behavior. It doesn't depend on your goodness. It doesn't depend on your ability to keep it. Well, this is me promising you. So you can just be asleep while we do the promises. And behold, terror and great darkness fell on him. See, this covenant is different from every other covenant because it's not about you promising and them promising. It's about one person promising God. It's all God's work and it's all God's promise. And God said to Abraham, verse 13, know for certain your descendants will be strangers in the land that's not theirs. They'll be enslaved and oppressed 400 years, but I will judge the nation whom they serve, and afterwards they'll come out with many possessions. As for you, you will go to your fathers in peace. You'll be buried at good old age, and then the fourth generation they'll return here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. In other words, this is how I'm going to do it. And Abraham doesn't have a clue because he's fast asleep. About when the sun had set, it was very dark, and behold, there appeared a smoking oven, a flaming torch, which passed between the pieces. There's God, Jesus, to be honest, standing in the middle of the field of blood with Abraham. You want to know how you can know that I keep my word? Look at the blood. I've sworn in blood. I've sworn, I'm making a covenant with you. I'm making a promise. I will kill myself if I don't meet your needs. I'd rather die than fail to keep my promise. Jeremiah says it like this, the sun and the stars may fail, but my word will never fail. I've put my word above everything, Abraham, here, and I've promised you I will do it. How can I know? The blood lets me know. The blood anchors my soul. And every day, Abraham was tempted to go, I don't know if God's going to come through. I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I'm going to walk in my healing. I don't know if I'm going to get a new job. I don't know if my marriage is ever going to be days of heaven on earth. I don't know if I'm ever going to be out of these debts. I don't know if these thoughts will ever leave me alone. I don't know if my family's ever going to be whole. You can know because the blood anchors your soul. The blood promise of God anchors you. Oh, it's awesome. And so here he is in the blood. There's Jesus walking in the field of blood. The Lord made a covenant. Verse 18. The Lord made a covenant with Abraham. Don't overlook that verse. He got all the stuff. To your descendants I've given this land, from the river of Egypt, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, to the Kenite, the Kenites, the Canaanite, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. It's all your land. I'm not just promising. I'm not just saying it. I could have just said it. I'm God. I don't need to swear, but I'm going to swear. I'm going to swear in blood, not for my benefit, but to anchor your soul. So you will never forget this day. I swear in blood, the land's yours. How can I know? I swear in blood, that's how you can know. God put Abraham to sleep and said, I'm declaring the blessings. It's going to happen. Do you realize what this meant? It meant in the spirit realm, God and Abraham swapped clothes. He's now robed with a robe of righteousness. He will walk into heaven and say, I've got a prayer request. And no angel's going to dare kick him out. Because they don't want to take the chance that that's not the Father himself. Because he's wearing the robe. You are robed with righteousness. You can enter the presence of God freely, without fear, without insecurity, without doubt. And the prayers of a righteous man are powerful and effective. Because you're wearing the robes. You're in. Man. God and Abraham have now swapped weapons. You mess with Abraham, you mess with me. It's the apple of my eye. Don't touch it. That's why Paul could say, if God is for us, who then can be against us? Bring it on. You want to try to rip us apart? You want to try and have me, devil? You want to try? Bring it on. My God will fight for me. I've got the sword of the Spirit in my hand. I'm wearing the full armor of God. Robed in the robes of God. I've got His authority, His goodness, His glory. And God and Abraham became blood brothers. Anything you need, son, I'll make it for you. I'll supply all of your needs according to my riches in glory. Man. Abraham wouldn't have been able to, he'd have walked different that next morning. He'd have come in, there'd be a laser, and they'd go, hey man, it's good to see you. You are such a good servant. Because I'm not scared you're going to get my stuff anymore. And the servant would have gone, what has happened to him? And the other servants were going, he was out all night. He was cutting cows up and goats up. You mean he made a covenant with someone? Yeah. But who? There's no one around to make a covenant with. There's nobody got as much silver and gold as the guy. Who's you want to make a covenant with? I don't know, but in the middle of the night, he was lying face down in the blood. And there was fire and smoke in the middle of the blood. You need to have got some more sleep, man. Abraham. And you see, the name change. Man alive. Do you understand what the blessing of Abraham is? Do you understand that when Galatians 3:14 says the blessing of Abraham is yours, it says you are in covenant with God. You have the very robe, the very authority of God on planet Earth. When you speak to mountains, they just move. Because you're speaking to them. When you command trees to move, they move. When you lay hands on the sick, they recover. You have the full armor of God. You ever seen the film Knight's Tale? Nah, you're far too godly to have watched. Heath Ledger plays a peasant who, serendipitously, I won't tell you the story, he finds a knight's set of armor. But as long as he wears the armor, everyone treats him like a knight. Because they respect the armor. You have the armor of God. And as long as you realize that's what you have, and as long as you don't open your dumb mouth and give the game away, every demon, every devil will treat you as they treat God. It was only when Heath Ledger opened his mouth that people went, hold on a minute. Listen to me. This is the biggest key to your victory in life. Shut up. There you are in the full armor of God, dressed like a prince, dressed like a knight. All the demons, all the devils are running down the other way. And there you are. Someone's sick. Oh, I could lay hands and you could be healed. But then we lift the visor up and go, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work or not. And some of the devils went, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Just shut up, man. Just speak. What do I say there? Just speak the word. And this is the word of God. Just speak this. God will provide everything you need. He'll fight to the death for you. Anyone messes with you, they're messing with God. Man, this will give you some confidence. Now, Abraham and God didn't exchange blood back then because God didn't have any blood back then. Couldn't have done it. But you know, eventually the Word of God became flesh. Flesh and blood. And in some Middle East covenants, they'd deliberately shed the blood 7 times. That was the number of completeness. They'd cut themselves 7 times. Well, look at Jesus on the way to the cross. They ripped his beard out, says Isaiah 50, that's blood. They put a crown of thorns on his head, there's blood. Nail in this hand, nail in this hand, nail in this foot, nail in this foot. Now we're at 6. And then when he died, they put a spear in his side and out flowed blood and water. He shed his blood for you. He shed his blood so that you could be in covenant with him. So he can say, I've now sworn in my blood, I'll protect you, I'll look after you, I'll fight for you, I'm on your side. If I'm for you, who can be against you? No weapon formed against you will prosper. Jesus was God swearing in blood that he'd always be for you. I will never leave you or forsake you. I will fight for you. Anything you need, I'll provide it. You're my beloved Son, and you are well pleased. This is the new covenant in my blood. Do this in remembrance of me. You see, you have to see communion as a covenant drink.
Well, the Bible says if you take communion unworthily, that's why you shall get sick and die.
Why? Because we see it through a legal mindset. See it as a law.
Drink it properly or you're in trouble.
That's not covenant. Covenant says if you drink this not realizing what it is, not realizing what I've done for you, that's why you're sick. Because you don't realize my stripes are healed. That's why you're sick, because you don't realize I shed my blood and said, here, I bore all your sickness, took all your diseases, and healing's not a free gift. I'm the Lord, your healer. But if you don't realize that, you can't benefit from it. It's the only reason given in all the scriptures to why people are sick, because you don't know what he's done. God's not going to make you sick. You're still sick because you don't realize you never have to be sick again, because God says, I'll heal you. I've sworn in blood, I'll do it. You have to see the whole new covenant as a covenant. And you have to let the word mean something to you when you say, is this in the new covenant? And testament's just the same as covenant. It means the same thing. This will anchor your soul. This will ground you on the truth of God's love. How can I know God's my healer? The blood. How can I know He's going to provide my needs? Blood. How can I know He'll be my source? Blood. How can I know that His life is going to flow through me and change the world? Blood. How can I know I'm going to enter a wealthy place because of a blood covenant? How can I know my ministry, my destiny, my God is going to come to pass? Because I've sworn in blood. We're blood brothers now. It's thicker to me. I will answer your prayer, the person I made a blood covenant with, over anyone's. Because you're first. You're my priority. Shed blood. And do you realize God and Abraham exchanged names in those days? See, Abraham became Abraham. He got "ah" in his name. Where did that "ah" come from? It came straight from Jehovah. It's in the name of God. He got God put back in the middle of his name. You can't say Abraham without saying God. You say, I've got Am. You can't say his name anymore without mentioning God. Without mentioning the name of God. That's awesome. And here's the even more awesome thing. You think that's awesome? God has changed his name too. Who are you, God? I'm the God of Abraham. Now, because we're legalistic and Western, we hear, I'm the God over Abraham. I'm the God who made him. I'm the God who tells him what to do. That is not what the language means. He says, I'm the God of Abraham. He means, I'm the God of the house of Abraham. That's the family I'm part of. And if you want to mess with that family, I'm in that family. I will mess with you. God is telling you right now, I'm in your house. You need some help in your house? Wealth and riches will be in your house. Psalm 112. Why? Because one of the people in your house is God. And you go, hey God, I need some new stuff in this house. Yeah, you do. Let's get it. Man, I put this on Facebook a couple of days ago. I was just reading, it was Friday night it was. Just reading a mobile phone magazine. There's a new phone out, HTC One M8. And I just looked, I thought, I like that phone. I wasn't praying, begging. I was like, Jesus, I like that phone. I would like that phone. Saturday morning, my phone company phoned me up. I'm not doing an upgrade till November. They said, you've paid all your bills on time, you've got free contracts with us, blah, 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 blah. We'd like to honour you and give you a free early upgrade next month. What phone would you like? I said, can I have this one? Yes, you can. Saturday afternoon, I'm getting ready for church for Watford, and I put these boots on. I said, I like these boots, God, but I'd really like a pair of black leather boots. And I'm not just talking about a nice plain pair, I'm talking about a bit of style to it, a bit of pizzazz to it, a bit of, I want some boots though, I want some nice boots. I just said to the Lord that, I just didn't, nothing else other than that. Just about to get in the car to go to Watford, and there's an email on my phone from a shoe company. Thank you for your boot order. I didn't order any boots. So then I said, has anyone ordered any boots today on my email address? And the man said, I did. I hadn't talked to a man about this. She just went online And she was just looking at different things, and she found a pair of boots for sale. They were just from £200 to £35. Thought, I bet my husband will like these. They've only got them in my size left, so she ordered me a pair. I got in the car. Oh, Lord, I really would like a new car. He's in your house. He's in your house. He's your brother. He's your blood brother.
Hallelujah!
Amen. You can rely on him. You should be that excited. He's in your house. Spurgeon researched this, and he found out in Middle Eastern culture that a covenant brother should not be treated as another brother, but treated as another you. You treat them the way you want to be treated. Man, this is awesome. God treats you the way he wants to be treated. He took your robe of sin and gave you his robe of righteousness. I'll provide anything you need. And if I'm for you, who can be against you? Now, David and Jonathan had a covenant. We discussed that. And here's the amazing thing. Covenants are generational. Turn to 2 Samuel 9. We're going to close with 2 Samuel 9. See, Jonathan died. Saul died. And there was David. He's no longer any covenant brothers anymore. One day David asked, is there anyone in Saul's family still alive? That's my covenant family. Is there not anybody in that family that I can show some kindness to for Jonathan's sake? I made a promise. I swore my life. Every night I go to sleep, I've got a scar on my hand right down my arm. I just want to help someone. I'm the king of the whole nation, for crying out loud. Give me someone to love and to help. That's what covenant does to you. It makes you kind. And he summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. Are you Ziba? The king asked. Yes, sir, I am, Ziba replied. The king asked him, is there anyone still alive from Saul's family? I want to show God's kindness to them. Ziba replied, yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He's crippled in both feet. And the reason he was crippled is he was dropped by the nurse running away from David. Because Saul's family all thought David was a monster trying to kill them. And he'd been dropped. Why am I crippled? Well, David, you were running away from David. David was the one chasing you. David was after you. David was responsible. David's the king. Keep yourself secret, because if David ever finds that you're still alive, man, you're going to get your head chopped off. Where is he? Asked the king. He's in Lodabar, Zibaton, the home of Machir, son of Ammiel. He's hiding out in someone's house. He's not in a good place. Doesn't even have his own house, doesn't have his own property. He's also sleeping on someone's sofa. And David sent for him. Now you read those 5 words, so David sent for him. You know, kings don't just send for somebody, do they? Well, can you go and get them for me? There's chariots coming, there's armies, there's stuff going on here. And there's Mephibosheth. He's been told all his life, David's out to get you. David's nasty, David's spiteful, watch out for David. And suddenly he hears the chariots coming, the horses, he sees the standard of David. He's terrified. Terrified. His name was Mephibosheth. He was from Jonathan's son, and Saul's grandson. He came to David, he bowed low to the ground, and deep space threw himself on the ground before David. Oh! David said, greetings, Mephibosheth. Hey, fucking son of mine. What is your kindness? Mephibosheth said, I am your servant. Don't be afraid, David said. Must have noticed the guy was looking a bit terrified. Don't be afraid. I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father, Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once began to belong to your grandfather Saul. That's pretty much half the kingdom. Just one day, just gets dragged there. Here, half the kingdom. And you will eat here with me at the king's table. Mephibosheth bowed and exclaimed, who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me? Man, his prayer life sounds like a lot of Christians I know. Anybody have a dead dog like me? I'm just such a one. Look what David does. He doesn't even respond. Doesn't even respond to the rubbish. The king summons Saul's servant Ziba. I'm not listening to you telling me you're a dead dog. I don't have a frame of reference for that. I want you to get a servant and say, I've given your master's grandson everything that belongs to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are going to go and farm the land for him to produce food for your master's household. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will sit here at my table. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. What a change. Ziba said, yes, Lord, your king, I'm your servant, I'll do everything you commanded. And from that time on, Mephibosheth ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. You see, there's a blood covenant. Jesus shed his blood. God made a covenant with Abraham. And you now, by believing in Jesus, are the children of Abraham. Just like Mephibosheth. And so many children of Abraham, so many born-again Christians are living on someone's sofa, living so far removed from their covenant rights, so far removed, getting up every day, struggling with sickness, trying to climb mountains God's told them to dissolve, living from paycheck to paycheck, from month to month, having all sorts of thoughts bother them and hassle them and harass them. And yet you belong at the king's table. And Mephibosheth, I believe he could have been there one day at the king's table, enjoying abundance, enjoying prosperity, enjoying the love of David. And I reckon somebody could have said, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are sitting at this table? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Just come in here. Who do you think you are? Well, it's nothing to do with who I think I am. The next time you take a look at King David, just look closely at his hand, because there's a scar on his hand. And that scar was where his blood flew into my father's blood, and my father's blood flew into his. I don't have a scar, because I wasn't part of the deal. But I benefit from everything that's happened in that deal. And now I sit at the king's table. You don't have a scar. Jesus shed his blood for you. Poured it out. He's got scars, covered in them, because of what he did for you. And anyone says you don't belong rich, you don't belong healthy, you don't belong blessed, you don't belong happy, you don't belong the head, not the tail, you don't belong walking in victory. You say, come in. Go and have a look at Jesus' arm. There's a scar on his hand. And it says he became cursed. He took my curse. So the blessing of Abraham is mine. Oh, praise God. Awesome. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to celebrate. And we're going to share the celebration drink together. If we can just hand these out as quick as we can. We're just going to share communion. And I'll make sure everyone's no communion until I'm ready to finish preaching. But then when you take the blood and the wine, until you understood what he said. This blood is the new covenant. This is the new deal. This is what seals me and you as brothers forever. You see, when Jesus died, it said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Jesus was the only Son of God. And yet, if you read Hebrews 2, it says he went to the cross and endured the shame to bring many sons to glory. And nowhere after the cross, nowhere after the death and resurrection of Jesus is he ever called the only begotten Son again. But now his name has changed and he is the firstborn of many brethren. That's you, that's me. Father Abraham had many sons. I'm one of them, and so are you. It's just awesome. I just believe you're never going to forget today. And what's happened today is your mind, your emotions are now being anchored into God's Word. Don't take the bread and wine yet. Wait till it's all distributed. And we're going to share it together as family. Because if we're all in covenant with God, we're all in covenant with one another. And so that's just awesome. And so just let's all stand to our feet. Is that going to affect how we distribute? I don't think it is. We're fine. Thank you very much. You know, Abraham's wife, Sarai, became Sarah. She got the name of God inside her name as well. God, you've got to realize you're in the family now. I'm Benjamin Conway Christ. And he's Jesus Christ Conway. Because we're blood brothers. We're one family. The unity between us, according to 1 Corinthians 6:17, is we're one spirit. 1 John 4 verse 12 says, as he is, so we know him. You've got to start looking at the new covenant with covenant eyes. God is on your side. God is on your side. God is on your side. He's not out to get you. He's out to give to you. He's not mad with you. He's madly in love with you. Just like David says, who is there alive I can show kindness to? God says, I have plans. And I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. To give you a hope. To anchor you into this truth. How can I know? Because I've sworn in blood. Has everyone got the emblems now? Go on. Just close your eyes. Just everyone close your eyes in the room right now. I want you to see yourself right now in that field of blood. There's half a cow on one side of you. Half a cow on the other side. Half a goat, half a cow. Blood everywhere. Just sniff it and smell that blood. You're never going to forget this moment. And you're standing right there in the middle of the field of blood. And God is right, Jesus is right in front of you. He's got holes in his hands. If you could see through the blood, you'd see he's got holes in his feet. He's got scars on his face where they ripped his beard out. Scars on his head where they put a crown of thorns on him. And he looks at you with so much love. He says, I shed my blood for you. We are now covenant brothers. Just in your head right now, just hear your name with Christ at the end of it. Benjamin Conway Christ. Just hear your name, Christ. You're part of the family of Christ. You're part of the body of Christ. I'm your God. I'm the God of Tree of Life Church, but I'm your God. And if I am for you, who then can be against you? I'm the Lord your healer. I'm the Lord your provider. I'm the Lord your righteousness. You know where my righteousness. I'm the Lord your shepherd. And I gave up my life for the sheep. I love you. I'm for you. I'm not against you. I will make you a great nation. You will not die, but live